Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak in this debate, which has turned into the annual pre-budget warm-up match. I think compared to some of the debates we've had last year, it's been more constructive. There's been more of an exchange of ideas. There seems to be a willingness from the Conservatives and indeed from the Labour Party, and latterly in the remarks from Willie Rennie to engage constructively. And I would echo Patrick Harvie in welcoming this approach. I think in terms of the public spending calls made within the Conservative motion, there's very little to disagree with. I think the question I would raise is the affordability of it. Murdo Fraser indicated he, like Neville Chamberlain, waved a piece of paper in the air when Mr Mackay challenged him. So I hope he will publish that, put it on record, and allow the Government and members to scrutinise these proposals, as indeed I'm sure the Government will set out their calculations of the Conservative spending proposals. I think there's a couple of things I want to pick up on the Conservative contribution. One was around income tax receipts, or the aspiration that income tax receipts should measure the rest of the UK. I think this concept of our UK is quite problematic, and that's because of the fundamental imbalance of the rest of the UK. If we think of one of the key drivers behind income tax receipts, earnings. Now, the latest statistics from April last year suggest that a typical gross salary in Scotland, annual gross salary, is £24,486, while for the UK it's £24,897. A marginal difference, but if we look at how the rest of the UK is actually structured, in the South East that goes up to £26,199, but for London it's £33,750. So there's that huge imbalance. So when we speak about the rest of the UK, we are speaking about an economy which has more variance in earnings and in productivity than the whole of the European Union. Indeed, there are parts of England where productivity is at a lower level than some of the poorest states in the United States. So it's a highly imbalanced economy, and the RUK figure is to some extent artificially inflated by the performance of the London economy, and that has significant implications for the operation of the fiscal framework. Clearly, when we look at... certainly.
Dean Lockhart.
I actually agree with Tom Arthur that London does indeed generate great wealth for the UK. But last time I looked, London wasn't going to join an independent Scotland, or does he know something different?
Tom Arthur.
Sorry, I missed the last part of the member's comment. Could you repeat it, please?
Dean Lockhart.
The point was that London does generate huge wealth for the UK budget as a whole, including the Scottish budget, but London will never in any situation be joining an independent Scotland, so an independent Scotland would lose the wealth generated by London.
Right. Tom Arthur.
That raises another interesting point, and that is a line of thinking that's common amongst unionist politicians. I think it was something she's not in the chamber, Joanne Lamont, when she was leader of the Labour Party, made reference to. She referred to the city-state of London as an engine for generating income for redistribution. But one of the concerns I have is if you have that model where you have your engine room located in one part of the country, then that attracts jobs, skills, inward investment, which makes it less desirable for people to live in other parts of the country. It creates a challenge around, for example, outward migration, a challenge we have in Scotland. So I don't actually think, moving on to I suppose the core Tory argument for the union now, which is what we describe as a union dividend, is that effectively we should accept an underperforming Scottish economy propped up by subventions from London. That's effectively the model. It's not the model I want for Scotland. I appreciate if that's the level of their ambition for Scotland, but it's not the level of ambition I have for Scotland. I think the challenge that we have to do is to go and match these advanced small economies. Now, certainly there are measures we can seek to do within the current devolved framework. For example, the proposal made by the Scottish Government around a Scottish visa, which would exist within the current constitutional arrangements, but would seek to create an opportunity to increase the number of inward migrants to Scotland. That was a constructive proposal brought forward. It had widespread support across Civic Scotland amongst the business community. There was an openness and willingness to engage, but it was dismissed by the UK Government within a matter of hours without seriously considering it. So that raises a real issue about how we can grow our economy in Scotland, because we know one of the big challenges that we have is if we look at, for example, GDP comparison between our UK and Scotland. Yes, there's a difference. The UK performs better, but if we start to look at it per capita, that difference decreases. And if we look at it per capita per working age population, then it starts to decrease further. And that is because we do have a demographic challenge in Scotland. Now, I'm not saying it is the only challenge we have in Scotland, but it is a key challenge, and it is one we have to address. And if the Conservatives really want to make the union work for Scotland, then they have to be more open and willing to admit that and to engage with the Scottish Government constructively when they put forward detailed sets of proposals about how we address some of these challenges, such as an ageing population. The final point I want to make, and what I was disappointed in terms of, I suppose my central disappointment in the contribution from Scottish Conservative members, and please forgive me if I misheard anyone, but I did not hear one reference to climate change. I did not hear one reference to social security in any of the contributions. So I hope that's something that the Conservative front bench will address in summing up, because climate change is the biggest challenge we face, and I commend the Scottish Government in putting that front and centre in its budget tomorrow. Thank you.